There is a specific feeling that is spreading through the modern world like a quiet epidemic. You're walking down the street, or you're sitting at your desk, or you're standing in the checkout line at the grocery store, and suddenly the geometry of the world shifts. The colors become slightly washed out. The voices around you sound like they're coming from an old radio next to the room. You look down at your own hands, and they do not feel like your own hands. They look like props. You feel as though you're sitting a few inches behind your own eyes, watching a first-person movie of a life you do not actually inhabit. There is a pane of invisible glass between you and the universe. In psychiatry, this is called derealization. It is often paired with depersonalization. Historically, it was a symptom of severe trauma or panic disorders. It was the brain's emergency fuse, a way to disconnect the nervous system from reality when reality became too painful to endure. But today, it is no longer just a psychiatric anomaly. It has become a baseline state of being for millions of people. We're not experiencing acute trauma. We're sitting in comfortable climate-conditioned rooms. We have food in the fridge. So why has the brain pulled the emergency fuse? Why has the world stopped feeling solid? Because we stopped living in it. The human animal was designed for a world of absolute, unforgiving friction. For 200,000 years, survival required physical resistance. If you wanted to be warm, you had to chop wood, feel the splinter in your thumb, smell the smoke, and tend the fire. If you wanted to eat, you had to pull the root from the dirt or chase the animal through the brush. Every interaction with reality provided massive amounts of tactile kinetic feedback. The world pushed back. Gravity was heavy. Things were rough, sharp, cold, and heavy. This friction was the anchor. It told the primate brain, you are here. The world is real. You are a physical object interacting with other physical objects. Look at your life today. We have systematically eliminated friction. If you're hungry, you tap a smooth piece of glass, and a stranger leaves a cardboard box on your porch. If you are cold, you press a plastic button on a thermostat. If you want to talk to a friend, you do not walk to their house. You tap the glass, and their ghost appears on a screen. We interact with the world almost entirely through two-dimensional surfaces. We tap the glass, we swipe the glass, and we stare into the glass. When you remove the physical weight of existence, the brain loses its anchor. It is starved of sensory data. It begins to feel like it is floating in a void. And when you float in a void for long enough, you begin to suspect that the void is a simulation. In 1981, the French philosopher Jean Baudrillard wrote a book called Simulacra Simulation. He argued that human society had replaced all reality and meaning with symbols and signs. He said we have reached a point where a map has replaced the territory. The simulation is more real to us than the actual world. Think about the sunset. You go to your beautiful viewpoint. The sky turns pink and gold. It is a moment of profound natural beauty. But what do? You pull out the phone, you take a picture. You put a filter on the picture to make the pinks brighter and the golds deeper. You post it. The actual physical sunset becomes secondary. It is the raw material needed to create the digital asset. The digital asset, the post, the likes, the comments, feel more real and more important than the cold wind on your face at the viewpoint. We do this with everything. We do this with our meals. We do this with our relationships. We do this with our own faces, editing our jawlines and our pores until we do not recognize ourselves in the bathroom mirror. We live in the hyper-real. We have constructed a digital layer of the physical world, and we have migrated our consciousness into that layer. But the digital layer has no mass. It has no smell. It cannot be touched. Is it any wonder that when we occasionally look up from the screen, The physical world looks flat and unconvincing. We have spent all our energy building that map, and we've forgotten how to walk on the territory. The most potent engine of derivation is infinite scroll. It is designed to induce a fugue state. When you open TikTok or Instagram, the goal of algorithm is to lower your heart rate, dilate your pupils, and trap you in a frictionless loop of massive consumption. You're not making choices, the machine is making choices for you. You enter a trance. Time dilates. You open the app at 8 p.m. and suddenly it is 11:30 p.m. You have consumed 300 discrete pieces of media, a comedian, a war zone, a recipe, a political rant, a dancing dog. None of it sticks. It is a slurry of contextless information that washes over your brain, leaving nothing behind but a vague sense of exhaustion. This is where the political and social reality begins to dissolve. When the news of the world is delivering in the same exact format as a video of someone making a grilled cheese sandwich, the news loses its weight. It all just becomes content. Wars, famines, and elections feel like plot points in a television show you're binge watching. We are the most connected generation in the history of the human species, and we've never been more alone. This is the final ingredient in the recipe for derivation. We evolved to exist in physical proximity to other humans. We evolved to read microexpressions, to smell pheromones, to feel warmth of another body in the room. This physical presence validates our own existence. You see me, therefore I am here. But the digital world strips away the body. We communicate through text. We communicate through avatars. We participate in parasocial relationships, where we feel a deep, intimate connection to a podcast host or a streamer who does not even know we exist. We are interacting with ghosts, and when you spend your life interacting with ghosts, you eventually become one. You become a brain floating in a jar of glowing blue light. You forget that you have a stomach, a spine, a nervous system. The body becomes an inconvenience, a meat vehicle that you only acknowledge when it needs to be fed, or when it starts to ache from sitting in the ergonomic chair for too long. When you abandon the body, the reality abandons you. So, how do you break the glass? How do you cure the epidemic of the unreal? You cannot think your way out of it. You cannot cure realization by reading a philosophy book or downloading a mindfulness app. Using a screen to cure a screen-induced disease is like trying to put out fire with gasoline. The cure for a lack of friction is friction. You have to return to the body. You have to do things that are physically uncomfortable, things that force the primal brain to acknowledge the laws of physics. You have to lift something heavy until your muscles burn. You have to jump into a body of freezing cold water. You have to walk outside. You have to take your shoes off and stand in the mud. You have to build something out of wood and feel the grain, and hit your thumb with a hammer. Pain, exertion, and cold are the ultimate grounding mechanism. They are the undeniable proof of the material world. A spreadsheet can be deleted. A social media profile can be hacked, but a 50-pound stone is a 50-pound stone. It demands to be respected. We had to deliberately introduce inconvenience into our lives. We have to walk to the store instead of ordering the delivery. We have to log out of the simulation and return to the territory. You can feel the thinness of the air. You can feel the hollowness of the interaction. You can feel the glass pressing against your wall whenever you touch your screen. The question is not whether the world is real. The question is whether you are willing to bear the weight of it. Because the world is heavy. It is sharp. It is exhausting. But it is the only place where you can actually breathe.